So my family just took a fun vacation and I thought I would share it with you. Nerd Nation. Fun family vacations pretty much a couple times every year. Usually there's one primary large trip. This is the trip that we took this year. It was actually going to be a little bit longer, but we cut it back because the gas prices were a little bit higher. We're just waiting until they go down. We were initially going to go to California, but this is what we did instead. So we started over here in Spokane and we did a loop like this. Anyway, I thought I would share it with y'all and see what y'all think. So this is our RV. It's named Arvictus. It's our trusty steed that takes us everywhere we want to go. And we also take with us a bunch of scooters. So last year we drove all the way out in Arvictus to Washington, D.C. and saw sights all along the way. So much fun. When we got to DC, we rented a bunch of those scooters that you can rent. And when I asked my kids, like, hey, we did all this, we did Mount Rushmore, we did all these things, Niagara Falls. And I said, hey, what was the funnest? And they said, when we were on scooters in Washington, D.C. And after that, for Christmas, I got them all scooters. And now every time we go somewhere, we all have scooters. We break them out. We don't have to rent them. And it's a ton of fun. So we have a little scooter gang. There's 5 of us on a scooter. So we have our Victus, we have our scooters, and I take a Dodge Avenger that we tow behind. Okay, so we started Spokane and we headed all the way down to Astoria. And we saw the Oregon coast. Kind of off course there. All right. So the first stop we had was the Oregon coast. We went to Astoria. We went to a couple of the spots that you can recognize in Goonies. This is me and my wife, and this is a big rock that sticks up in the back. This is all coral, and there's just hundreds of crabs all over this. The kids absolutely loved it. And of course, they have puffins out there. I don't think I saw any, but this is a picture of someone that took of a puffin that was in the area around the time they were there. So maybe I saw it, maybe I didn't. And then there was a seaside promenade. A lot of fun. We took the scooters. It was just fun riding next to the coast, as well as they have all these little shops and stopping points. I thought this was really funny. They had a sign that said tsunami evacuation route, and it just had an arrow pointing away from the ocean. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're depending on that sign, I don't know if evolution wants you to even make it. So anyway, we went to the Goonies house. We saw Mikey's house, right? And it's really cool. They have the little stuff set up, you know, when the kid does the truffle shuffle over here and they let him in, and there's like a bowling ball and a chicken that lays an egg and kicks the football. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to see the Goonie house, and quite popular too. I was surprised. There was people pretty much walking up on it the entire time we were there. All right. So this is what we did in Oregon Coast. Mikey's house, the beach, crabs, birds, sand, and then we did the seaside promenade or promenade, however you pronounce that. Then we went to Mount St. Helens. This actually turned out to be a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. This was our second stop. There's Mount St. Helens in the background, lots of trees and bushes, lots of life. This is me resting after a long hike that we took. And we went to the Mount St. Helens Visitor Center. This was totally worth it. Didn't cost too much, although when we watched the movie in the Visitor Center, I felt like it mentioned when Mount St. Helens blew up, and then it talked about everything else. Kind of crazy. It was like a 10-minute production, and it seemed like they hardly talked about Mount St. Helens, at least the eruption, which to me is like the big thing. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. They had some cool models. And then this was really cool. The lava tubes around Mount St. Helens, I believe it was created when Mount St. Helens erupted. It's this massive cavern that is maybe about 10 to 20 feet tall in places, where it just stretched on for about 2.3 miles. And you can actually go in there. And I was really surprised. Like they just let you go down there. And if you don't have flashlights, I mean, it gets pitch black down there. Obviously, you have to have flashlights. If your flashlight goes runs out of batteries, I mean, there's nothing down there, and you're just on your own. It was a ton of fun, and we went through the longer route. It's like 1.7, And my daughter, who's 8, she did fantastic in it. And so some people were like, I don't know if your kids can do it. My kids, we go on hikes all the time, so they did fantastic. But that was definitely something that I did not expect as much as I liked it. So definitely something cool to check out. All right, here's a picture of the lava tube. I couldn't get great pictures. This one I pulled offline. They just had obviously a big light that projected down the tube, um, and it was a lot of fun. All right, so we did the North Trail, lava tube, and there's a ton of hikes. So I think that we're very likely going to take another jaunt down there to Mount St. Helens specifically and go on some more of these hikes. You can actually hike up to the top of the rim of the Mount St. Helens. It was quite a jog. I don't think I'd take that with the kids, maybe my older son. But it is a lot to see and do over there as far as hikes and getting outside. All right, next we went to Olympia, state capital. And when we decided to go to Olympia, we really didn't stay there long. We just parked there in the morning during the Seattle rush hour traffic because we were going to go through Seattle. So it gave us some time just to see some cool stuff while we're waiting for the Seattle traffic to die down. All right, so we went to a cool arcade place, retro arcade. We saw the Capitol building. And then they had the farmers market. That was a lot of fun, seeing that we got these huge slushies for a relatively cheap price. All right, we did the Percival Landing Park. We broke out the scooters. We're zipping all around the town. Legends Arcade, Capitol Building, Farmers Market. All right, next we went to Seattle, and the Zoom didn't quite work so good on that one. All right, so Seattle, I've always wanted to do this. I've heard it mentioned a couple times. They have an underground city. Seattle has a crazy kind of origin story. It's the first 100 years of Seattle's history. I don't know, brains weren't firing on all synapses. Like it's kind of a disaster, one disaster after another. And the Seattle Underground City, they basically built the city at a location that was too low and it was getting a lot of the coastal water coming in. And they tried to soap it up with sawdust and it was a disaster. It rotted, the whole town smelled horrible. But eventually they built up the the lower part of Seattle, up one story and they built 33 walls and then built the street on top of it, and that's still around today, which is really kind of crazy. And so this is the underground city, and this is us in the underground city. Really cool to see, and thought it was really cool. Although when we were waiting around for our tickets to get punched, there was this individual that was tripping on something and just scared the uh, goodness gracious out of my daughter, 8-year-old daughter. She was a little freaked out about it. But other than that, it was super cool. We also went and saw the Seattle Aquarium. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought. It is pretty pricey to get in there, but once you see it, especially if you're like a Seattle local resident, I kind of think, and you had kids, this is something, and we do this quite a bit. We usually get like season passes to different places, and this is something that you could spend a couple times a year, and I think you get a lot out of it, at least the kids. They had this cool little jellyfish kind of tube that just cycles them around, and they just are constantly going around, which is really amazing to see jellyfish. All right, so we saw the underground city, Pike's Marketplace, Seattle Aquarium. Pike's Marketplace is very popular and cool place, open fish market. They're throwing fish at each other, whatnot, and then there's a bunch of stores. And then if you get a chance to go get the chowder, go have some chowder at some of the restaurants over there. Absolutely fantastic. We weren't able to get any chowder this go round, but next time. I usually stop in there quite often. All right. Anyway, so the Seattle Aquarium. I thought this was interesting to ask you all. I would love to get your all's opinion on this. Anyway, there's quite a few spots that we went to, and they considered an adult a 13-year-old kid. And I was like, in what world is a 13-year-old considered an adult? Right? I mean, they don't do their taxes. They can't vote. They can't, buy cigarettes or alcohol. Like, in what world is a 13-year-old kid considered an adult? So I thought that was an interesting question to pose. Love to get any feedback about that. I guess they could say youth and just charge a little bit more, or have the same price as the older youth as an adult. But for some reason, they just slap 13 and above. That's an adult. We think that's the adult price, which, you can't even get in a rated R movie if you're 13. I don't know. Interesting situation. I'd love to get some feedback on it because I was just a little taken aback. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's 13 years old. He's an adult. All right, next we went to Anacortes, and we kind of had a chill day, a couple days there. It was a lot of fun. They have a big kind of boardwalk. They had all these boats. We went down on the scooters. There's our little scooter gang that we have. And then the coast was just full of crabs and sea life. Lots of things to see down there, especially if you like walking on the beach and whatnot. So we saw the boats. We stayed at Fidalgo Bay RV Resort. It was actually a really nice place and pretty inexpensive. I gotta say, I was surprised at how accessible everything was in the area, and the price was less than I thought it was going to be. But tons of crabs. We're talking thousands of crabs. Like you move a rock and you have thousands of crabs. You got hermit crabs. You have all sorts of small crabs. You had just the whole gambit. Lots of things for the kids to see and study. So that was a lot of fun. And then we went to Leavenworth. Leavenworth is definitely a spot. I'm surprised I haven't been there already. This is the first time I've ever been to Leavenworth. I'm pretty shocked by that. It was just a really cool place. I want to go back there in Christmas, and I might want to go back later this summer, spend a few more days there. They had these massive pretzels, and this picture doesn't really do it justice, but that's like, I mean, you're talking like that big. Big pretzels. The town is just really built up to where you can walk in, and you just so many cool things. And here around Christmas, it's just fantastic. They had several stores that featured a lot of Christmas stuff that's pretty much all year, and it's based off a Bavarian or German town, where a lot of the residents that initially started that town were from those areas. So I thought that was super cool, and I absolutely love it. They also have the kind of a luge, or they call it like a mountain coaster. You push forward, you go as fast as you can, you go up to about 27 miles an hour. It was pretty fun. I got a little car sick on it. I just went fast the whole way, but it was pretty fun. So all right. So Leavenworth Christmas Tour Boardwalk, and then the Tumwater Twister Alpine Coaster. The price wasn't. I mean, it was a little expensive on the coaster, but it wasn't. I don't know, for a one-time sort of event. I thought the kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. Probably I wouldn't do it every time I went to Leavenworth. And then there was a lot of beachfront or riverfront where you could walk down and see some cool stuff. So Leavenworth was absolutely fun. And that was pretty much our trip. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. And hopefully I'll share the next one that we go with you. Anyway, take care.